We're back. Carter, the power. Brian, good evening, good sir. How are you?
Blake, are you freaking kidding me? Saturday night, the world will watch two SEC teams, which I don't know if you know this, but did you know the SEC got more College World Series teams than the ACC, the mighty Atlantic Coastal Conference?
Yeah, Danny Cannell says that the SEC is overrated, even though that they lost to Duke, lost to Murray State, North Carolina lost to Arizona. I'm forgetting them off the top of my head because you put me on the spot. Florida State lost to Oregon State. I mean, the list goes on and on. But, the ACC apparently runs things. And here's the thing. Everybody talks about the year of equality. Well, how's equality now?
Well, what do you mean?
I mean, those teams that we said was the second best conference got their asses whooped.
I just wanted North Carolina's beautiful uniforms to be in Omaha.
Speaking of uniforms, what's up with you and this guy taking shots at you for no damn good reason? In case people don't know, it was,
Oh, dude,
Moscona taking shots at you. What's that about?
I don't know. I guess I'm just a softball fan now, apparently.
Well, here's my thing. If we're going to talk about bad takes, how about we don't compare Jay Johnson's decision-making to Les Miles?
Yeah, and then the Jay Johnson to Ed Orgeron from, some other fans and stuff like that.
Les Miles' decision-making compared to Jay Johnson.
Yeah. The guy that's been to 4 College World Series now in 8 years, which is and really tough to do now, especially now, because everybody's got good
heavens, yes.
It doesn't matter if you're at the best school, which Jay Johnson is. It's still hard as hell.
Carter, he got to Omaha 2 times at Arizona. He's been to Omaha 4 times in 8 seasons. At Arizona and LSU combined 4. He's there 50% of the time.
It's insane. Like we're so lucky. I mean, it really is. But yeah, I get flamed for takes all the time. I did not think that would be the one so far that would set a fire hazard in the minds of so many. Here's my only thing about the gray uniforms. Okay. Most of the clothes I wear are gray. I it's nothing against gray. It's just every team's baseball, their best uniforms aren't the gray ones. And I hate it when I see a gray team play a white team when baseball's got, and you and I have discussed this before, baseball uniforms are the coolest uniforms. They're the most unique uniforms we have in all of sports. I just don't want drab, bland, gray baseball uniforms on my screen. It was just my personal take, but apparently it was something you can't let go. Okay.
This media beat does not need to talk about worse takes.
Yeah, I miss more than I hit on a lot of them.
No, you don't.
Some I miss. I thought Maurice Hampton was the next great thing. And he had more production.
But you'll have some of those. But it's not like your football overall takes are bad. You're just saying you don't like the gray uniforms when other teams were white. There's nothing wrong with that. You just said you don't like. But to the sexicity of saying, well, maybe softball is more your speed.
I still don't know where that.
I don't know what that means.
I didn't either. That was the craziest thing, and the thing that was the wildest thing. And by the way, I have a good relationship with Matt. I do, but he then compared it to baseball not having bases. All right, he said taking gray uniforms out of baseball would be like taking bases out of baseball, which is the worst comparison in I have ever heard. I'm serious. I was like, that is like nowhere. You can't play baseball without the base. You need a ball and you need bases. Those are only two things you need. and a bats, obviously. Those are only two things you need, or three things you need to play baseball. So it is what it is. You go through this often. I do too as well. You go through media beefs. It's fine. So there you go.
No, they've calmed down on me over the years. Mine was the recruiting people.
Why? Why? Well,
I have no clue.
yeah. Well, sometimes look. Sometimes you deal with it. Like I will tell you this. My biggest one was handled behind closed doors. This one was like more like a public call out, which is fine. I don't mind Matt doing that to me at all. In fact, I welcome it. I welcome it from you. You and I were shouting at each other last week on this show. I welcome it.
Doing that this week.
No, or not. I welcome it. I welcome people. In fact, I welcomed it today with my open-ended question. What is your hottest LSU football take? I do this every year. What is your strongest, boldest take on LSU football going into next season? And, I got a lot of hate. Well, why are you talking about this with the College World Series? I do this every year. I try and get everyone's viewpoint on this very thing. But when you do this for a living and you do it as long as we have, you're going to have people, even someone as small as me, you're going to have people that do this. So I welcome Matt. I welcome Joe Schmo that's listening to this. I welcome Danny Cannell. I welcome Stephen A. Smith. They want to push back on anything to me. I'm always open.
What is your hottest LSU football take?
Well, the one I shared today was a positive one, and it was that Jack Pyburn will be second or third team all SEC at defensive end, in a very loaded defensive end in the SEC year, right? Obviously, Colin Simmons is the best, but
Tyreek Sapp, Colin Simmons, Banks. Banks is technically a DT. Patrick Payton, Gabe Relaford. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Yeah. So I think Jack Pyburn will be the best defensive end on this team. Cool. And I think he will be an all SEC member this year. So that was my.
Why do you think he will be?
Well, I'll tell you this, Blake. I had one staffer tell me that this was the most dominant end play from a spring perspective that he had seen. It ain't
close. Yeah, it's not close. Yeah. It's not remotely in the same stratosphere.
Yeah, that's how good he was in spring. Now, that does concern you because, what does that say about the offensive tackle position to a certain extent? But, obviously Jack had a weird situation at Florida. It's been well documented, and this guy is very hungry to have his first real full-time 3-down role. And look, I sometimes take what people tell me about spring intel, but you got to take it with a grain of salt because people have been wrong.
I was out there. What do you want to know?
Well, yeah, I mean, look,
we're out there for full practices. What do you want to know?
He was the best. That's what you have said. That's what a lot of the media members have said. That's what players have told me as well, that this guy was that big of a difference maker, also a culture setter. So I can't be higher on him than I am right now. And that's like my big one going into next year. And that's big. That's big because Braden Swinson won you some football games last year. So for you to get someone who I think will be better versus
he won you. He single-handedly, in my humble opinion, you'll say it's not going down that rabbit hole with you again. I think Braden Swinson won you Ole Miss. The 4th down stop on the zone read, the multiple sacks on 3rd down that plagued you to get 7 and then 3. I mean, he single-handedly might have won you the game there.
Dude, he was fantastic. And I think Pyburn, at the very least, will be better versus a run. I don't know if he'll have the same sack or pass rushing production.
No,
Swinson in that
Patrick Payton.
Yeah. And then also, like, Swinson in the UCLA game was really big when that game was close in the first half. So I mean, I'm really, really, really high on Jack Pyburn. And then obviously, Blake, on the offensive side of the football, the most interesting response I got today was so many people saying so-and-so is going to have 1,000 yards receiving next year. And guess what? I got 5 different players that people, not all at once, but it was amazing how wide the responses were. Barian Brown will have 1,000 yards. Aaron Anderson will have 1,000 yards. Chris Hilton will have 1,000 yards. Trey Green, 14 receiving touchdowns. So a lot of fans were giving out some pretty bold predictions about 1,000-yard receivers. Like there was 2 1,000-yard receivers in the entire SEC last year. There's not many 1,000-yard receivers. I think people get carried away because that's an NFL milestone, but they play 17 games and the rosters are more concentrated. So I'm not sure if a receiver is going to get 1,000 yards, but if I were to pick one, I would probably say Aaron Anderson at this point.
Let's stay on defense very quickly before we move to offense and that. Did you listen to Brian Kelly on College Game Day today?
No, I did not.
We're moving Harold Perkins all around. We're putting him in that star, but here's the thing. Kelly says, we're going to move him all around, and he's coming as a pass rusher. Yeah. I tried telling y'all that. Y'all didn't listen to me. Listen to your boy. Listen to me. Sources. There will not be, outside of Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, a more other than that situation. Nothing under the Brian Kelly era is going to be more elite, in my humble opinion. Here's a hot take, more than edge. They're sending Perk. He's coming. The problem is when you say that based off of what happened with him the last 2 years, the injury and then being moved from inside linebacker to out, which I will remind people, he had the same exact stats as a freshman that he did as a sophomore. Carter, teams are going to have to start being very creative. They're going to put a back or a tight end on him in pass pro, and he's going to win them. All right. It might be an elite unit. It might be the best unit that we've had at edge maybe ever. And I mean that.
Oh, ever?
Yes. Ever? Because I think that the Bukevius Mingo and Sam Montgomery era was great. The 2003 was great. I think this team's coming. And I consider Perk as an edge. Based off of what Brian Kelly said and what Carter, me and you had an hour-long discussion on Perkins when I said he was moving to star and then they reported it, whatever. He's coming. They better send him. They better not bullshit it.
Blake, I hope you're right, man. I really, really, really do.
Coming. They don't have a choice. If you're going to put him at start, Carter, on third downs, they sent Major Burns 50% of the time per PFF.
Yeah, I would prefer Harold Perkins do that, even though his coverage grades are fine. I want him attacking, and especially in the clear passing.
All right, they're going to come with him. Why wouldn't you?
Well, I mean, one of the big benefits of having him on the field is there's not many running quarterbacks that can outrun him. Right? There's only 2, I feel.
Pre-ACL, correct.
Yes, there's only 2 in the SEC this year I think can outrun him, and that's Taylor Green and Lenore Sellers. But
I don't think he can outrun Sellers, but I don't know if he can bring him down.
Right. So he can at least chase him down. But even at bad angles, he could chase all the other quarterbacks in the SEC down. And there's a lot of guys that can flat out scoot. All right, you and I both love us some John Mateer. Well, Harold Perkins can run him down. So
I agree.
There's so much more value with him being on the field. And look, one thing I do like about LSU, in particular on passing downs, they're going to be so much faster on the front because
I agree.
So you have Patrick Payton, you obviously have Pyburn, but Jamari Butler is more accustomed as a pass rushing defensive tackle on 3rd and longs. That's an in playing DT.
Don't forget about Gabe Rutherford.
And Gabe Rutherford was a track and field star in high school, and he's an in. He might be as fast as any of them, not named Perk, even though Perk is slightly a different position. So this is going to be a very fast defensive line on clear passing downs.
My hot take would be in a positive that I think you're a top 30 defense. Brian Kelly said today that he thought, and I was going to talk about this after you left, but defense, we had to have a defense that travels. It's the best overall talent that we've had defensively. I don't think he's wrong. I don't think he's close to being wrong.
At LSU?
Under him, yes. Talent v. talent. Carter, your safety room was ass cheeks last year. I mean, like your DB room, I don't think you had a Mansour Delane or DJ Pickett in that room last year because you didn't.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, from a talent v. talent standpoint, no, you haven't. You simply haven't, brother. I mean, he's not lying.
Well, I'll say the gap between last year's defensive talent and this year's defensive talent is one of the biggest year-to-year unit talent increases I can remember. I mean, last year's defense just did not have the thoroughbreds, especially, towards the end of the year when guys are going down. So I'm with you on that, Blake. It's going to be hard to not see this defense be top 40. In yards per play, they were 51st and 22, and then these last 2 years outside the top 80.
Horrible.
So yeah, I mean, I think it would be a pretty massive failure if they're not top 30, even though they do play a really difficult QB schedule this year.
Here's the thing too, Carter. You've been so horrible the last 3 years at allowing explosive plays. You've been one of the worst teams in the SEC. That's got to change. What is your bad take? Like, what is your hottest take in reference to what worries you the most?
Yeah, I think, Blake, who the other safety would be with AJ Halsey is going to be.
It's going to be Deshaun Spears.
Yes, I would lean in that direction at this point. So what does the Tamarcus Cooley acquisition look like after that?
I think they put him in the slot, if I'm being honest.
I do too. Yeah, and that's what I would do. I don't think safety is his natural position. It's not really what he did last year either at NC State. And then obviously offensively, I know this isn't the hottest take. It's the clearest take. This offensive line, to go along with Joe Sloan. Blake, let's just go back and look at arguably the best positional unit ever at LSU, which is the 2011 defensive back room, right? That
you would put it over the unit of the 2019 wide receiver room.
I think it's close. I think it's very close.
I give it to 2019 receivers, but continue.
Yeah, it's probably them, but it's very close.
I agree.
But my main point though is LSU lost Will Campbell. All right, you can still field a good offensive line after losing an elite player. Right, so 2011 LSU secondary is probably the best I have ever seen. Maybe in all of college football, they were that good. But they had lost Patrick Peterson the year before, right? And PP7 is one of the best college football players, one of the best football players ever at LSU. So it is possible. I mean, they were a better unit with them than without them. That's not what I was saying. It's just they did a really good job of having that unit ready to go after losing a Hall of Fame NFL player. So just because you lost Will Campbell's not the big problem. It's that you lost 4 of these guys, 4 starting level offensive linemen.
Right.
So it is possible to overcome not having Will out there, who Once again, the penalties were up. There was, some sloppiness throughout the year, but for the most part, Will was still amazing as a football player last year. You're going to need Tyree Adams to step up. You're going to need Weston Davis to step up. You're going to need, even if they're not the clear-cut starters per se, as you know, Blake, offensive line injuries happen. They happen every year. Got to have those guys step up and be big pieces, because if not, your team could just fall off offensively, because I feel offensive line is,
and you're certainly not going to get bailed out by your quarterback running.
You're not.
It could definitely lead him to making more mistakes than he did a year ago, if we're just being honest.
It can. Yeah. And look, another thing that concerns me as far as the offensive line is concerned is Mason Taylor had really good chemistry with those offensive tackles. You look
agree.
at
more so probably played with them for freaking 2,000 snaps.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, they don't know a life without one another per se. That's also big, right? Like, you wanted a hot take. I shared one this morning. Someone said Kyle Pitts is the. Did you see this? Someone said Kyle Pitts is the best.
You said you didn't know if he's better than Mason Taylor. I don't disagree with you.
I mean, at tight end, where as a receiver, it's not close. I'm not dumb enough to say that. Kyle Pitts is the second best receiving tight end.
Maybe ever.
Yeah, but to say that any college tight end is better than Brock Bowers is absolute lunacy. It's a disgrace that anybody can even think that is a real take.
I don't think as a tight end he's better than Tyler Warren.
Who, Kyle Pitts?
Yeah.
I agree.
I don't think he was, as a tight end, I don't think he was better than Tyler Warren as an example from this year.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But
Mason Taylor was such a solid player for LSU. Missed practically one game, that Mississippi State game in 2023. I mean, the guy is just what's fantastic. I mean, the Jets used a second-round pick on him. I mean, losing him is a big deal, but you see Bauer Sharp, freak of the week, and then obviously Trey Green will be the most hyped LSU tight end in a very long time.
They better keep Trey out there more than Bauer Sharp. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, so you're a big Trey guy.
I think he's the best overall player on your team.
What?
Uh-huh.
The best tackle football player on the 20
because I think he's 6'7", 235 pounds, and he's faster, and he's raced people, and the only person that's beat him so far this past week was Chris Hilton.
Wow. So
deep sources.
That's dude. That's a scorcher. Now I will be honest.
I think it's a scorcher.
Blake Theodore Frederick Ruffino, head coach of the Blue Barracuda T-ball softball, whatever team.
He's the best overall athlete on your team. It's not remotely close. It's not remotely close.
That dude, I love a good scorcher. I love a good scorcher.
Name a guy on this football team that can block a shot in basketball from an Elite Eight opponent, take the ball, go the full length court, and dunk it on somebody's shit.
Okay, so you're talking about athleticism.
Without, out of question, running, catching, radius. Carter, I'm just going to tell you, he was unguardable this spring. Nuss kept going to Bauer Sharp, and BK lost his godforsaken mind. He was screaming at him, throw the ball to 14. He throws the ball to him. He goes up. He catches it in the back of the end zone, and he's just standing there. Bauer Sharp is not better than Trey Green. So all I was trying to say there, if it's a scorcher, is 14 better get the ball more than Bauer Sharp. That's all that I know.
No, it's not a scorcher. You're saying that Trey is better than Bauer Sharp, but you're saying he's the best.
I think that he can. I think when it's all said and done, if he puts his head down, and gets to work, he's wearing a gold jacket.
God, dog, Blake, are you serious?
I know.
God, dude, you are, dude. I don't know if it's me, dude. A gold jacket.
Yeah.
Blake, dude, are you kidding me? Gold jacketing this guy. Goodness gracious.
It's not remotely close from an athlete standpoint. I guarantee you that. You can make any jokes that you want with me about it, but as an athlete, he's one of the pound for pound strongest dudes on that team. He's faster than some of your receivers. And Carter, quite honestly, I know that he's going to catch the football. He's a mismatch. Name somebody that can guard him one-on-one, please. Teams.
Dude, I think I'm doing something to you for you to gold jacket a young man.
I said I think, which I can be wrong, when it's all said and done, that he has the potential to wear a gold jacket. I do believe that.
I have said that, I think, roughly like 4 or 5 times with LSU players. I think it was Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, Patrick Peterson, and Malik Neighbors. When I watched them in college, I was like, I would 1,000% think that they would be Pro Football Hall of Famers.
He's going to be there. He's your next. Okay. He's your next great.
Yeah. Bookmark this. Bookmark it. That Blake. Dude, I love it, man. I love it. It won't be a gray jacket. It'll be a gold jacket.
Well, all I'm saying is you better give Trey'Dez Green the ball more than you give it to Bauer Sharp. I don't. Say whatever you want about my take just now, but you better get him the football. You want to bring Bauer Sharp in for blocking situations and throw him a couple passes here and there, by all means, go right on ahead. I don't give a shit. He better have more attempts and more catches and more touchdowns. Carter, he is a freak of nature in the red zone.
Look, I'll be honest.
High take. He's better in the red zone from a receiving standpoint than Mason Taylor.
Oh. God.
He's gonna be.
I think theoretically you're all right. Okay. But and look, as high as you are on him, it's gonna come off bad that I'm not. It seems like I'm not a Trey'Dez guy. I do believe Trey'Dez.
Yeah, you hate it. You hate him.
I absolutely despise him. Who wears number 14? Max Johnson wore number 14. My goodness gracious.
You know who else wore 14 as a freshman? Tyrann Mathieu.
Tyrann Mathieu did. You're right.
So if he gets number 7 this year, you better watch yourself.
Shout out Herb Tyler.
By the way, speaking of jersey changes, who do you think gets number 18?
Witt.
Well, they've been given 2. They've been given one to offense and one to defense. So defense, Witt Weeks. Who on offense?
I just wouldn't. I don't know if I'd get. I would guess Aaron maybe, but I don't know if I'd give it to
Aaron Anderson. Ain't getting number 18.
Yeah, maybe Chris. I mean, honestly, if you want to talk about someone that loves LSU, it'd be Chris Hilton.
Garrett Nussmeier.
Who that would be kind of who was the last 18 at QB was
Matt Monk.
Matt Monk. So.
You know what? Matt Monk had 12 interceptions too one year.
So yeah, I think at this point it would be Garrett. It would be kind of cool. It would be cool to have a QB rock 7 though.
I don't like it. I
know you would. I'm not going down that road tonight.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't like it. We're not talking about it. Speaking of that, Brian Kelly did say that he thought that they were a playoff contending team without the turnovers. You're going to hear it in that interview.
Yeah. LA Mom is in the chat right now. I didn't see it. You know what? I had my head on a swivel. I watched an SEC QB, a guy that's going to be starting, and I became enamored with Bo Prabula.
At Mizzou.
Dude, I did not.
Yeah, Duke can move. I've told you this, and you told me that I might be crazy. The SEC there's no conference other than the SEC that has better quarterback play than the SEC. It's not remotely close. That's another
Yeah,
one that's
I
remotely
think
close.
everybody's got a good quarterback. Depends on how you feel about Zach Calzada, but
What's going to happen at Bama? I think is a question.
could you believe a world where Bama might have the worst QB in the SEC next year?
They don't. They're not going to.
I think it's going to be I think it's impossible to have the worst QB with Ryan Williams to throw the football to.
Well, and people better recognize that Ryan Grubb's a hell of a OC.
Yeah,
he's a hell of an OC. So we'll
Yeah.
see. In reference, going back to your offensive line thing, you got to run the football.
Yeah.
I mean,
basically,
you got to find a way to run the football. And is your interior offensive line better? And and listen, is Caden Durham fully healthy?
I don't know.
Oh, I meant that rhetorically, but I mean,
yeah. I mean,
you got to figure out a run game. And then Carter, my problem is that I don't even know that if you can run the ball, that your coach is going to run, your OC is going to run the ball enough. I mean, here's my problem with play calling. When Brian Kelly got involved, you were better. And I don't know how you walk that back. I don't know how your head coach helps take over play calling and you think walking it back is remotely okay. Like you literally came out and you helped a guy last year, and now you're telling me you're just going to give him the keys over again? That's not how this works.
Yeah, I honestly, and once again, I've heard all different things on what the Alex Atkins role will be here, but I will say that this guy comes over from what a lot of coaches felt was one of the more aesthetically pleasing running game when Florida State was running counter with Trey Benson. You know, I don't care for a quarterback.
They had a quarterback that we saw that would pull it. It means
Right.
nothing without the zone.
Yes and no. I think he could be a good counter team without someone that
not the way that they're going to run it. I mean, they're reading the end. They're pulling a tackle. If you're not going to pull it and you're pulling a tackle, it's one thing. Then you can't run. I'm sorry, because Carter, if you got a tackle and guard pulling, and a guy is crashing down and he keeps crashing down on the running back, and it's an impossible play because nobody's there to block him unless you're putting a tight end over there to do that, which is an incredibly insane block. Then I don't know if you can do that. You're going to have to pull it. I'm telling you. If you don't pull it, you're in trouble. Listen to me. You do it one time versus Clemson. Let him get 5 yards and get down and don't get hit, and they won't do it again.
I don't know how many more times I can agree with you on that. I'm with you. I do think, though, that no matter what the run actually is, just get good at one type of run, right? So many of the best run game orchestrators are really good at just finding a run that they are very good at. And that can evolve. You know, the Shanahan world in the NFL was all outside zone. And then these last couple of years, they mix in different things, right? Like the Rams from an NFL perspective has become more of a duo team, right? I'm not the best at recognizing which runs are which, but it did seem the Rams became a little bit more, and I'm a big McVay guy, but they became a little bit more duo-based this past year.
Without a doubt.
And look, I really don't know as much as BK or Sloan or anyone like that, but I do think finding a run you're good at, right? We can make every single joke about Les Miles we possibly can. But he did get one thing right, that LSU was going to be good at running power, okay? Whether it's the straight pitch back type of power, Will Blackwell would tell me, hey, we got good at that one thing. They just got stale with just that one thing. So you get at one thing, and other runs you'll be able to do different things with as well.
All right, well, it's starting to really pour here, so my internet's kind of hit and miss and fuzzy. So, Carter, I greatly appreciate you joining me, my man, and we'll talk to you soon.
LSU 7, Arkansas 5, game 1. That's going to be the first.
I will love every second of it. Thank you for joining us.